Hello and welcome to Retro Round. It's round 6 of the Penrite ProMX Championship presented by AMX Superstores. This weekend at Coffs Harbour, it's all about root hair, moustaches, mullets, wild moto livery, Walkmans, Wham and Super Mario. Hi, I'm Kate Peck and we are winding it back with two of my favourite retro specimens, Danny Ham and Lee Hogan. You boys have really brought the goods, but I tell you what, it's like a vision into your past, or Danny, perhaps a vision into your future. Give me the lowdown on your get-up.
Yeah, look, I thought I'd see how it feels. This is a look that I've been working on for a bit. I'm in the Miller Yamaha gear from back in CDR. I thought I'd steal it, don't tell Dakar, and yeah, what an outfit this has turned out to be.
What about you, Ho?
Yeah, look, I'm running the 94 Motocross of Nations jersey that I got to run in Switzerland, which means a lot to me, and running the hair that I wish that I could have been able to run in recent years.
Yeah, and I myself am running a bit of Dakar. Check it out, it's
Very
from
nice.
the 80s when he was racing in the USA, but enough of the shenanigans for now. Let's talk about motocross. Now we're coming off the back of some brilliant racing in Maitland, where Aaron Tanti, the championship leader, took his first ever double victory in the 450 class. He's got one hand on the championship. Boys, talk me through his performance and how critical this round is in the championship.
Yeah, look, Aaron Tanti is finding form at the moment. He's just getting more and more comfortable each round. It's going to be hard to stop the steam train, that's for sure, but there's a lot of other competitors in there going to try their best, that's for sure.
Well, I got to say, don't forget Todd Waters. I mean, mathematically, he's still very close. He's in with a chance of getting it. He's coming off a great win last week in AORC. I mean, the conditions we got this weekend, very similar. Do not count him out.
Yeah, very much so. All right, well, let's take a look at the championship standings. As discussed in P1, CDR Yamaha Monster Energy's Aaron Tanti, and sitting in P2 with a 26-point gap is Husqvarna's Todd Waters, who has a 2-point lead ahead of P3 privateer Brett Metcalf. Well, hold on to your mullets. Let's hit the mud with Danny and Lee as they take us for a tour of the Coffs Harbour track.
Michelin track preview here at Coffs Harbour for Retro Round. With close to 100 mil of rain having fallen in the area here of Coffs Harbour over the last few days, it's fair to say we could potentially have a mudder on our hands here, the first for the 22 race season. So could we potentially see a major change up in the championship points chase with just 3 rounds to go? As we can see here standing at the starting gate, this is quite possibly one of the muddiest start gates I've seen in about 40 years of motocross. And it's really easy. What I wanted to point out is to show you the different textures of the sand here. We've got almost like a bricky sand here that's turned to complete slop. But every now and then we get a couple of good gates, like we can see here and here. So that's going to emphasize the importance of getting yourself a good qualifying position, having one of those first picks of the grid. What I also wanted to talk about was paddle tyres, or scoop tyres as they're called. You might want to sacrifice a little bit of lap time speed to be able to use these scoop tyres to rocket you down and into that first turn. All right, well, from one mullet to another, it's time to go across to Danny Ham.
Well, thanks a lot, Lee. One thing that we do need to discuss here at Coffs Harbour Round is a factor that's been brought up as we're coming into it, and that is the shortness of this track, and that's going to produce a lot of really quick lap times. Now, what they've done to try and combat this is build jumps just like we see here right behind us. It's a wall jump. We're coming out of a corner back there, probably about 50, 60 metres. The riders are going to come around there and get up to around about 80 kilometres before they have to slam on the brakes right here and basically roll over this. Now, the point of it is to try and create longer lap times. Now, why is that important? Well, these guys are going to do extra laps. Now, it might not seem like much. In a 25-minute moto, they're still going to do 25 minutes of racing. But it's the extra laps that they do that is mentally draining on the rider. And with the current conditions that we have right here, it's going to produce a lot of mistakes. We may see some riders that we haven't seen too many times in our previous rounds. Now, there is a saying that the mud is a great equalizer. Never worked for me, but there is a lot of riders out there that can ride the mud well, and there's some very fast riders that get hindered in these kind of conditions. And that there is going to be your Michelin track preview for this week.
laps. Let's take a look at the Thor lineup. MX1, Moto 1. Matt Moss was fastest in qualifying. Kirk Gibbs, Aaron Tanti, Todd Waters, Brett Metcalf.
Ferris, Melross, Evans, Woods and Whiteman were the guys that were in the top 10 shootout a little earlier on to make sure they got that all-important start gate. As we see the rest of the field also. Big field through here, which is great to see. Plenty of the riders still out there. And it's going to be tough conditions for them. And we saw that the track was very wet yesterday when we previewed it. It has changed a bit though. It does look like it's coming all right. There is still some wet areas on that track. As we can see right here on the start line, its 15-second board is up. We are getting set to get Moto #1 of the Thor MX underway. Who will jump out first? The all-important launch out of this gate.
Keep your eyes peeled for the drop of the gate. I am picking a Yamaha or a Honda to jump out first. A big mistake on that far left-hand side. Kirk Gibbs looks like he got squeezed out, but I believe it could be Dean Ferris. The 111 scores himself another hole shot.
Wow, Moss was there in second place going into turn #2, but a big mistake has thrown him back a couple of positions. Waters and Tanti are the two guys splitting the difference between first and fourth, and already Tanti is trying to make this pass happen straight away on Ferris.
Well, Dean Ferris's starts have been so good throughout this series campaign so far. However, Aaron Tanti has been lightning fast in the opening laps. 100% hole shot, Dean Ferris.
And that is why he sits there in first place at the moment with the 111 Honda. Oh, Moss has gone down just at the bottom of our screen. Going into that right-hand turn after such a strong start to the day, but doing the one lap exceptionally fast. We need to put that into play when we get to the motos. And I'll tell you what, Waters looks like he is ready for business.
He does, and Matt Moss, that is not the mistake you want to make in the early stages of the race. And having to pass so many riders, unfortunately for him. But Dean Ferris is coming under siege from Tanti, and Todd Waters, like you mentioned, Danny Ham, he means business.
Correct me if I'm wrong here, Lee, but the intensity on this opening lap, I have not seen this in any of the previous rounds. These boys know the importance, especially on a track like this, of getting out, making
mistake. Mistake from Tanti. Is that going to be enough to let Todd Waters pass? I think he will have the inside. He has. He's made that pass. So the dream run that Tanti usually has in his first couple of laps has been halted or slowed down ever so slightly.
Now, I did get a chance to talk to Tanti after the qualifying session, who was absolutely flying as well, and he said he just needs to take his time with this, not rush these corners because these mistakes happen. But I tell you what, around the outside, if that's taking it easy, I don't know what to say. He blasts around the outside of Waters and throws himself back there in a second.
Now that corner, that turn before the finish line there is 5 different ruts, Danny. During the lunch break, I went over and had a little bit of a look. You could almost bury a small child in there if you wanted to. It is absolutely crazy, that inside line.
Well, this is shaping up to be a sensational Moto #1 of the Thor MX1 class as we see Tanti go back to work, trying to find some kind of real estate that Ferris is not already occupying to go over that big tabletop. I do see that Metcalf was back there in 4th place. Melross only 1.1 seconds back behind them, and Gibbs, who was one of our fastest riders earlier on as well. So all of our heavy hitters are up the front. It's going to be a good 22 minutes left in this moto. Wonder how this is going to play out.
I'm liking the strategy that Dean Ferris has come to play in these early stages. He knows how fast Aaron Tanti is in these first few laps, and he knows he needs to keep this pace up if he wants to keep that Honda at the head of the pack. And they've started to gap just a little bit. Todd Waters back there in 3rd place. It's almost like the passing move from Aaron Tanti took him a bit unawares and kind of shocked him a bit. Todd Waters needs to recover.
Oh! You're not going to recover throwing your shoulder into a hay bale, though, I can promise you. Speaking from experience with hay bales, they usually don't end up in the right place, they end up on the ground. So very lucky to get away with that one. As we see Tanti still working on it. Metcalf there in 4th place as they go into this right-hand turn. It is a sensational start to this Moto #1. We see just at the back there is Melross also. This is good to see, and Gibbs, who we saw in qualifying, was also very fast. Back a few more places. That looks like Rikers on the outside of Evans.
Yeah, Joel Evans looks like he's just made a pass on Jaden Rikers to move himself up to 7th place, which is a fantastic job for that privateer Honda rider.
I was going to say just when we were on those leaders that I don't think you can leave too many laps where Ferris is out in the front. He just builds that confidence there all the time. Now, as we take a quick look at the replay, what a starter was there for Ferris, cleanly into that first turn. And Evans there, a great jump out. Look at the gap he has over Metcalf right next to him.
And then, of course, heading into turn number 2, we saw Ferris funnel in ahead of Aaron Tanti. There we saw just that little bit of a mistake from Tanti, shuffled himself back to third, but didn't take very long before he was back in that second place once again. So, battle continuing up at the head of the pack. Dean Ferris closely followed by Aaron Tanti and Matt Moss. Not quite sure if we have a bike problem, or that looked like...
Yeah, I don't know.
It looked like it was his upper body posture. Look, we'll try to keep you guys up to date on this one. Perhaps something that's something Kate may be able to perhaps ask the question, find out some information for us there. But Matt Moss out of the race here at Moto 1 of Coffs Harbour.
Tanti working his magic at the moment as he looks, he loves that line, doesn't he? But it's a bit of a mess up on the out or the exit of that corner. Just a small mistake there, so the gains that he made in the corner were all lost once again as they click down yet another lap. 19 minutes and 30 seconds to go on this one. It is early days, and Tanti is looking exceptional at the moment.
Now, of course, these two are no strangers to each other out there on the track, Danny Hams. We just have a quick little look at the Honda replay here of the Matt Moss crash, and the bottom of your screen there, front wheel washout. It didn't look anything too crazy, like a high spot.
Oh, maybe that might have something to do with it.
That was the, that's the incident. Wow, so...
So, yeah, that's...
okay. This is relentless pressure that Dean Ferris is under siege from the CDR Monster Energy Yamaha rider, Aaron Tanti. How long can he withstand this pressure?
It's a vital part of this race.
Beautiful.
If Ferris can handle this and be able to break Tanti's charge just a little bit. This is where we saw that fast outside line with Waters. Can he do it again? No, he's much wider this time around. And
he set it up exceptionally well. It just, and still ends up reasonably close. And this is the corner with so many line choices.
Whoa, around the outside, what a drive!
Amazing line and exceptional corner speed from Aaron Tanti to be able to set that up, Danny.
Well, we have a change for the lead. Here is Ferris now. He has the opportunity to have a look at these new lines that have been discovered by Tanti. A small mistake there, landing slightly short. Can Ferris rely on that wisdom as we take a look at this outside pass? Blasts around the outside here. Great drive through that rut, and quite simply...
And just stayed a bit lower on that finish line jump, Danny.
Nothing that Ferris could do there to try and stop that charge. 0.5 is the gap between first and second. Oh, Metcalf there, landing very awkward. It looked like that back wheel may have landed in a bit of a rut or a bump coming off the down ramp there. And threw that bike sideways completely the wrong way. A great shot there, shows exactly the kind of lead that these two have. And then it goes back to here. Hey, how good is this ride by Melrose? This is the Melrose that we know can do this week in, week out. So good to see him up there and keeping that pressure on there in 5th place. So Gibbs is the man on the charge, and what a ride this is with the thumb injury that we know he has gone into this round with.
And carrying that very special carbon fibre brace. You know what, I'm looking forward to seeing this. It's almost like a little bit of redemption for Kurt Gibbs after the last round, and we saw how fast he was. His raw speed that he had at Maitland was just so impressive to, unfortunately, overjump this tiny little bump, landed in the wrong spot, hyperextended his thumb, and I must say that was a beautiful corner from Todd Waters. Sorry, it just caught me a little bit off guard there. Fantastic tipping it in so hard from Todd Waters. But as I was saying, Danny, really looking forward to almost a chance for redemption for Kurt Gibbs.
Can he make up the distance? We do have 6 minutes, 6.5 minutes left to go, plus 1 lap. If he can knock down 1 second a lap, that will bring him right to the rear wheel of these guys. But he has to do that for the next 5 laps consecutive He can't have a bad lap if he is going to catch some guys.
Well, Danny, it's saying 1.2 seconds the gap between Tanti and Ferris. It'll be great to see what's going on at the head of the pack between those two, because if that is true and that's the case, we have got a race on our hands. Is Tanti doing his usual and just controlling the race at the head of the pack? Or visually, we just saw right there. I don't think that's 1.7 seconds. I think it's not quite as bad as what we were thinking. I think Tanti still has things well and truly under control here. It's a beautiful line using the far left extremities, which now Dean Ferris has caught onto that line. He was not taking that at the start of the race.
These are the opportunities you do get when you do sit there in second place. There's a couple of the back markers.
Welcome back to the Penrite Oils ProMX Championships, brought to you by AMX Superstores here at Coffs Harbour Retro Round. We are mid-race. Moto 1 of the MX1, and Aaron Tanti continues to lead in fine fashion. But I tell you what, closing in ever so slightly and found a couple of new lines is Dean Ferris, and he is dangerous when he gets on a roll.
Well, the lap riders are certainly playing a part in the outcome of this race. You can see the gap really has shrunk up a lot there. Ferris, very smart, has used it to his advantage at the moment. And that is one of the problems with this track. It is just the ruts are so deep and long that you get locked into it. So if you choose the wrong line early, you are going to be stuck there until you clear out of it, and then you can make your way around these lap rides. And I think that's what we're seeing right now.
Now, Danny, just a little bit of history, a bit of research. Over the last week or so, when I was looking into the riders, who's been doing what in a race perspective leading up to this event, I found a local Queensland race, nothing too big, the Sunshine State Series last weekend. And Aaron Tanti won every single race, but in nearly every race, Dean Ferris was finishing second with 0.5 second gap between the two of them. Every single race. So these two are no stranger to each other, obviously, on a national scene, but also from a local perspective, they know each other exceptionally well. And I'm wondering if this race last weekend, even though Ferris got second, is that giving him a little bit of extra belief, maybe a little bit more of a chance to work on that motorcycle? Because I tell you what, that Honda suspension is looking so nice this round.
Will be interesting to see how this one plays out. As we see Waters on screen, was only moments ago right onto the back wheel of Brett Metcalf. But small mistakes, just like that one there, are costly. And he does drop back just a fraction off the back wheel. As we see him make his way through that left-hander, there is Ferris.
All
right
over
there.
the back, he is there, and we've got a battle on our hands, Danny Ham.
Yeah, and I did see too, the last time these two were on screen, Tanti having a quick look over his shoulder. Ferris has picked up on some lines, that line especially right there, very quick, staying out of those deep ruts. Is this where that knowledge, that experience starts to shine? With 2 minutes and 55 seconds left, can Ferris keep that pressure on? And this is a track that pressure can force mistakes very easily.
Well, it's funny the way things have evolved over the last few rounds, where there was almost a question mark back at the Mackay round with Tanti almost sort of unraveling near the end of the races. And in recent rounds, he's been the strongest, unshakable when it comes to those final laps. And to see everything transpiring here at the moment in these final laps, what's going to happen? This could be a pivotal moment in the championship. If Dean Ferris can keep this pressure on, force a mistake from the Yamaha rider, yellow flags out.
The eyes went up very quick indeed by Tanti once he saw that yellow flag, looking for the downed rider. Again, as we said, you don't want to be caught in that rut that the rider's laying in. It could really bring you unstuck. This pressure at the moment from Ferris is very strong, as Tanti again gets caught up just momentarily as he works his way through.
Dab of the foot from Aaron, a rare dab of the foot.
Yeah, there certainly is the intensity and a small amount of pressure being applied at the moment. And whether that will bring him unstuck. Oh, change of line there. So, was that a mistake going into the corner?
Yeah, look, that wasn't a fantastic line there.
Oh.
Ferris tries to go around the outside. It is pressure cooker time from these two. Dean Ferris up the inside.
Will he do it?
Pressure almost come together, and A sneaky little look over the right shoulder from Aaron Tanti. Is he wondering, where are the rest of these boys? Is anyone coming? What should I do here? Should I remount another challenge? We've got 1 minute plus a lap on the clock.
You could not time that any better. Dean Ferris, that is an exceptional run. Watch for the outside here. Small mistake by Tanti, and the line, as Ferris comes into it, we almost thought Tanti had it back. I think Ferris might have even thought it was, but he put the pressure on, kept pushing it through, and he was absolutely dominant going into that corner.
Yeah, that was a fantastic pass, and it was set up just from finding a few good lines and making up a little bit of track time on him and putting a bit of pressure. That implied pressure on the track can do amazing things, and sure enough, it was enough to force a little bit of a mistake from Aaron Tanti, and Ferris, that was all he needed. You don't need to invite him twice, he'll be in there.
Here is Metcalf now. After being passed, he has found his feet once again towards the end of the moto. We've seen it so many times before as he works his way back up towards Kirk Gibbs there on the number 5 machine. The KTM rider just there in front of him. Oh, that is Tanti. So those yellow flags were down. That was Tanti that was down just moments ago. So it has all come unstuck for our championship leader. And Kirk Gibbs now sits right on the back wheel. He hasn't got up too fast. That is Tanti, and he could get past right here.
What a line, and what corner speed from Kirk Gibbs. What will happen in this corner here? Amazing outside speed from Tanti, but Gibbs comes across.
Wow, that is the pressure that we saw being applied to Aaron Tanti. He is standing so much more upright. He doesn't look like he's in that attack mode that we're used to seeing. Is he feeling some kind of fatigue from sprinting so hard at the start?
All right, let's have a look at the replay here. The Honda replay of the pass from Kirk Gibbs takes the inside. Completely different lines there. Brett Metcalf up the inside trying to almost do what Dean Ferris did to Tanti. Tanti's just trying to hold on. He's lost his rhythm, so these straight line and corner ruts become almost impossible when you lose your rhythm.
Well, that shouldn't be far till our leader goes over the finish line. It is right there. One more turn to go. The checkered flag comes out for the factory Honda rider,
Yes.
Dean Ferris.
Nice little wave to the crowd there, and that one feels good, I tell you.
Just behind them, did you see that? The pass has been made by Metcalf on Tanti. Does Waters get around him as well up to the finish line? No. Tanti holds on for 4th place.
Wow, that was a story all in itself. This is an unexpected moto, and things have totally turned around. What will happen by the end of the day today? Dean Ferris comes through with the goods with a fantastic win here on the Honda HRC machine.
Fantastic to see. Okay, let's look at the Thor MX1 Moto number 1 results. Of course, the 111 machine, Dean Ferris takes the win in front of Kirk Gibbs. Brett Metcalf, a solid ride as well. Aaron Tanti, he will go back and regroup before the next race, no doubt. Todd Waters back there in 5th place.
Hayden Melros, not too bad whatsoever. Great job getting up there in 6th place. Jaden Rikers, Joel Evans, first privateer home. Jobin Baldwin also doing it for the privateers along with Joel Whiteman.
Yeah, nice to see Joel up there. Both Joels getting a good result. Latma, Watson, Dylan Wood after that crash earlier on as well. Latma and Ward is your top 15 places.
And in P1 from HRC, I've almost lost him. Wow, there was one plan going into this weekend, and it was to win. These points are so important for you. Congratulations, Dean Ferris.
Yeah, I've only got one option, so I'm just going to try them all. And Tanti got me halfway through the moto, and I was like a dog with a bone. I didn't let go, and I seemed to find a bit more speed right in the end, and he made a mistake, and he gave me an opportunity to send it up the inside of him, and I had to do it. And worked out good. I got in the lead for the last few laps and brought it home, and this ain't over. I'm going to keep coming like a freight train every single moto, so that was a good start to the last 3 rounds.
Well done.
Thank you.
Welcome back to the Penrite Oils ProMX Championships, brought to you by AMX Superstores. We're here at Coffs Harbour Retro Round. We've been absolutely loving this retro.
Matt Moss was our quickest rider of the day, unfortunately. Did go down in that first one for the Thor MX1 lineup, of course. He will try and get back onto the start line. Kirk Gibbs there, also Aaron Tanti, Todd Waters, Brett Metcalf, Dean Ferris, Hayden Melrose with a good Moto #1, Joel Evans, Dylan Wood and Joel Whiteman. Some privateers really excelling in this field as well.
You're exactly right, Danny Howell, but it was Dean Ferris and Kirk Gibbs who impressed the most in the latter stage of that race, where you were either going to tighten up or you were going to drop the hammer. It was those two that came out smelling like roses. So will they be able to do the same here? It's the business end of the day. The 15-second board is up. Thor, MX1, Moto #2. Watch for that 15-second board to go sideways, and we're in the starter's hands.
Tanti there, close to the box. We have a few of the other riders closer to us. Who's going to launch out first? They held him very long.
What a jump from Ferris. He rocketed out of the gate.
What a start again for Ferris. So we have a carbon copy of Moto #1, Ferris, Tanti. Oh, Riker's up there this time with a good start. Waters is there also. Melrose, Gibbs, and then the only one out of the picture at the moment is Metcalf, I think, unless you can see him somewhere, Lee.
No, I'm trying to pick up Metcalf.
Oh,
I
there
can't
he was.
see him.
Outside as we look at the 100% whole shot award, again going to the 111 machine of Dean Ferris.
Does he almost get 2 whole shot awards for having such a big whole shot? That was massive.
Oh, back wheel stepping right out there for Ferris. That opened an opportunity for Tanti. He tried to make something happen and got very close to a crash himself.
Yeah, that was nasty. There's some holes and nasty ruts out there, and riders are going to have to be careful, I tell you, because this track is deteriorating by the minute.
There is, no it's not, I still didn't see Metcalf come through.
10th place, the leaderboard is saying at the moment, as to where we can pick him up.
He is a long way back. Oh,
Latimer. Lockie Latimer there, number 69, unfortunately, has had a little bit of a mishap here in the early stages. Kirk Gibbs still finds himself in a nice spot in these early stages of Moto 2. And we saw, oh, have a look at Todd Waters. He's all over the back, ready to pounce on Aaron Tanti. And that's what these riders need to do. They need to not allow Tanti to get into his rhythm.
Well, does he approach the race differently? Again, we don't know what happened. Oh, look at this, almost around the outside. Oh, Waters almost going down as well. So does Tanti approach this one differently? We mentioned it in the early laps of Moto #1, the intensity. It was crazy on those first couple of laps. Is he going to ride into the Moto a little bit more this time? Or is he just going to go, oh!
A mistake from Dean Ferris, almost took down Aaron Tanti as well. Who is going to come out on top of these two? Almost clashing handlebars. It's going to be Dean Ferris that's going to hold on to that second place. But I thought that Tanti was going to get collected on the way through as well.
As did I. I thought Tanti, out of no fault of his own, was going to go down, but he has managed to somehow sneak through. Oh, Waters off to the side of the track. Rikers with a good showing here. This is what we like to see.
Rikers has got the popcorn and the Diet Coke happening, sitting back there in third place, just watching it all unravel in front of him, and he's having quite possibly his best race of the season.
And at the same time, Melrose is joining the party right there on the 45 machine. The gas Gibbs into screen as well, as we see the riders up and over this tabletop. No one can slacken off. No one can afford a mistake in these opening laps. Otherwise, you could be passed by so many riders. Valuable positions lost, as we see Melrose looking to the inside to try and make something happen.
Todd Waters trying to get another position up through the head of the pack, and almost coming together was Hayden Melrose and Jaden Rikers, and that's going to open up the door for Kirk Gibbs to get in there.
Well, that was just a present presented to him there, the place just gifted to him.
Just Santa Claus throwing out presents everywhere.
Nice move by Gibbs as they go into this right-hander, and we can see just through the screen there, the three in front still very close. Gibbs needs to get moving in this one if he wants to catch the top three, otherwise they are going to run away and hide.
So 25 minutes plus 1 lap, the duration here for both races of the MX1 class. This, of course, Moto 2 of the Thor MX1. Kurt Gibbs on screen at the moment on the factory KTM, and he was one of our hard chargers, finished exceptionally strong in Moto 1. Aaron Tanti started off a lot like this in Moto 1, and it fell apart at the seams, unfortunately, about halfway through. So let's take a quick look at the Honda replay here. What a jump out of the gate from Dean Ferris. It's one of the clearest hole shots I've seen in a very long time.
Not sure what he is doing different to those other riders out off the start, but by this point you can see right there, here's a bike length in front of him. But the mistake just here by Tanti, we thought that Waters was through, and then a mistake by him also, and it was the next turn after this, Ferris with the mistake. So they are just sharing those mistakes around. And wow, this was a scrappy start to this race.
Yeah, well, with that added intensity that you were talking about, mistakes are going to be made, aren't they? So we just saw another one there. And of course, Hayden Melrose having to exit stage left and head off the track for a bit of an excursion. And that opened up the door for Kurt Gibbs, who's trying to pounce now on Jaden Rikers. But once again, the corner speed from Kurt Gibbs, when he's on rails and it starts to come together, it looks effortless, doesn't it?
Yeah. Gibbs, though, a nice swing around the outside. It looks like he should have this pass made as he dives back to the inside and covers. A small mistake, though, that I'd like to see that inside line. It seems to have caught a few of the riders off so far in this race.
Yeah, well, look, I think it's one of those lines that was seen as a good line earlier on in the day. Now it's just been used that many times that it's deteriorated. I dare say that there'd be some hard-packed ledges and a little bit of changing traction in there as well that's really causing havoc with the riders. And I think that's one of the things here as Moto 2 of the MX1 starts to play out and makes a way towards the checkered flag. As this track deteriorates more, the sun starts to come down in the sky. It's going to create shadows. You're going to find the riders ducking their head down, using their peak to try to give themselves a little bit of extra vision so they can see what's going on. It's going to be harder and harder to avoid those mistakes.
Aaron Tanti looking the goods at the moment, has himself 1.8 second lead over Ferris. Now, how much confidence Ferris drags out of Moto number 1? Is he starting to feel a little comfortable? Yeah. He's still there.
He's not going anywhere, and that's the thing. That's what's going to play on the mind of Aaron Tanti come mid-race. We're still 17 minutes plus a lap. If he can't shake Dean Ferris, he knows that Ferris will not give in. There's no way he's going to throw in the towel.
Nice line up the inside there, completely missing a lot of those braking bumps coming into the corner. Back to Todd Waters here on the 47 machine. He has dropped back just a little bit and should start to feel some pressure by the looks of it by Gibbs behind him as we check the lap times. And 1:42.3 was the fastest by our second place rider in Ferris, 1:43.9 for Aaron Tanti that last lap around. So certainly some speed found by Dean Ferris on the 111 machine, the Honda at the moment, and it's visually clear to see that he is closing in. Into the long left-hand turns. Gibbs loves that outside line, really slingshots him around and continues that momentum down that straight. Again, here is another line that he liked earlier on. Right onto the back wheel now of Todd Waters. So Waters needs to pick up the pace if he's any chance of maintaining that third position in this race. The back end stepping out sideways, bouncing off the ruts as they go into this tight right-hand turn. The crowd going wild. You can just hear them off to the side. And looking at our intervals, Ferris has closed it back down to 1.3. So that's great to see as we continue to watch this battle going on between these two. Small mistake there for Kurt Gibbs. And I think it's really going to play out the rest of this race. Who makes the least mistakes is going to come out on top.
And I think for the viewers at home, it's interesting to point out, it almost looks like these pros are tiptoeing their way around the track, when in actual fact, they're on the ragged edge and going as hard as they can. That's how treacherous this track is. It is not user-friendly as a lapped rider comes across and causes a little bit of grief there for Dean Ferris.
Unfortunate for him, sometimes these things happen. It's just a part of the sport where the lapped rider won't know exactly who it is behind them and really have no opportunity to get out the way. They are still continuing on with their race, and that was just one of those times that it did not go in the favour of Dean Ferris. Small mistake by Tanti just a moment ago, right to the inside of the track. There was a bit of an in-swinger off that jump.
Dean Ferris is still in a tow here. He's still well and truly close enough. If he's this close as they get under the 10-minute mark, when they get around 8-9 minutes to go, that's where Dean Ferris, I think, will start to try to mount a little bit of challenge and put some of that late race pressure onto Aaron Tanti. See if he can't perhaps do what he did in Moto 1 and turn this into a double victory. Like I said, he's got no choice but to try to take maximum points. Have no doubt about it, ladies and gentlemen. Dean Ferris is pushing 110%.
He wants this win. He needs those points, and he does want to take it all the way to the end. He is a few points behind in the championship, but he does want to take it there. As we see Waters on screen, Gibbs has made his way around him, and it sits in third place. Waters back to fourth. So that little exchange has happened off screen just moments ago. And it was something that we kind of expected could potentially happen, as Gibbs was looking to be the stronger of the two riders at this present point in time. As they go back onto the start straight, all the riders standing up. And you mentioned before, it looks like the riders are tiptoeing. In a way, they kind of are in some spots. They really need to get these smooth laps out.
All right, now just a quick little mention at the bottom of the screen. Number 81, rider number 81, Joel Evans, has received a 15-second penalty, it's saying, for warm-up lap infringement. So interesting one, that one. We've seen a couple of these penalty notices brought up on our screen, but that's the first time I've seen a warm-up lap infringement. That's an interesting one.
We'll continue to track our third and fourth places here. As we see Gibbs holding out Waters for the moment. Melross still just there, 2 seconds behind. Back to Rikers and Metcalf, who has made up a little bit more room, but he is still a little bit back. Let's have a look at this slow-mo replay of Tanti trying to make his way through this traffic. You can see once you're locked into those ruts, and he is stuck there. Ferris trying anything to get around as quickly as he can. You know, where can I go?
Now, I might be wrong, Danny, but my gut feeling tells me that Tanti is prepared to fight a little bit more for it this time. Even though Dean Ferris is all over the back of him, I feel that Tanti's still in a good shape at the moment, good form. I think he's still fairly comfortable. And I've got a funny feeling that if Dean Ferris does come past, I don't think that Aaron Tanti will just wave the white flag this time like he did last time and sort of surrender and let him have it. I think he's prepared to fight a little bit more this time. As to whether he does, time will tell.
I agree. He does look like he's in a better position at the moment. Tanti does look a bit stronger, but then we see little things like that. It's only a small mistake, but they are the ones that tighten you up. As we see, Ferris dives to the inside and straight past. Wow, that had some speed right there for Ferris to get past so quickly. Going into that turn, can we see Tanti respond?
That was a beautiful line on the inside that I mentioned a couple of laps prior, and you can see off the back of Ferris's bike almost a bit of grass comes off, so that's telling you that he's going into uncharted waters there a little bit. So a very innovative line that Dean Ferris found there, and it paid dividends with that pass. So let's quickly go down to Kate, who's with Craig Dack.
Yeah, I've got Craig Dack here. We just saw Tanti get passed by Dean Ferris. Can he catch him?
Yeah, well, look, of course we want to win, and so does Aaron. That's obvious. But the way the championship is, our main guys is Todd Waters and Metcalf, and they're a few places back. So we're gaining points all the time on the championship. So that's the main focus, with only 2 rounds to go after this. Yeah. So, yes, we want to win, but the championship is more important.
Yeah, okay, thanks, Craig.
Thank you.
Yeah, wise words from Craig Dack, and I know, look, they have the scripted thing that they'll say, oh, what are we doing? Are we thinking about the championship? We're taking it 1 race at a time, and they'll always tell you, just 1 race at a time. However, you don't need to be Einstein to figure out, you need to look at the big picture. There comes a time, if you're in, you know, Aaron Tanti's position at the moment, like we mentioned earlier on, the points at the moment, Todd Waters is his main competitor. A vicious little swap there from Dean Ferris as I was talking, but his main competitor, as I was saying, is Todd Waters, and he will continue to stretch out that championship lead. But what a day Dean Ferris is having here.
Ferris looking so good at the moment. As we look at the provisional points, there it is, 254 against 225. Waters back there, 220, equally with Brett Metcalf, and then Gibbs behind them. So 29 points difference between first and second place. this is only a 3-point race for Ferris at the moment over Tanti. Tanti and Ferris could finish this way out for the rest of the championship, and it's not going to make a difference to Aaron Tanti's overall position.
No, that's correct. Look, you know, you need to start losing some serious points or have a bad race. However, Dean Ferris is doing everything that he can possibly do, and he's doing a great job at keeping that scoreboard pressure on Aaron Tanti to the point of where he can't just nice and easily cruise through these last 2 rounds. He needs to stay up there in that, you know, worst case scenario. You don't want to be out of the top 5, but you need to make sure you're up on that podium every race.
Tanti's in a much more solid position as well this time around, as Gibbs is 12 seconds back behind them. So realistically, he can just cruise this one out, pick up some extremely valuable points in this championship. There is Gibbs right there. The lead 2 riders are well and truly clear of this area. This is the finish line. Gibbs in a bit of a lonely ride now back there in 3rd place, as Waters has now gone back behind Melrose. Should be coming into screen just about now. And yeah, Melrose is back there in 4th, so good ride for Melrose.
Yeah, and an interesting little switcheroo, a change around for Dean Ferris. If positions remain the same, he will very comfortably slot up into 2nd place in the championship, which is just desserts for what he has been doing here. And of course today, if things stay the same and he goes 1-1, incredible points haul, that's for sure.
Kurt Gibbs looking very smooth, still jumping across some of those ruts there, picking something a little different in the line selections around that outside. Some of those outside ruts look really nice. Smooth, long, flowing, sweeping ruts.
Yeah, and it's just being comfortable enough, isn't it, to get off those brakes, get yourself into a position that you know you should be in. Trust in the fact that if you do it correct and you remember the angle, if there's a hook in the corner, if it turns tight, sure, you have to remember that, but just trust in the process and you'll find that your bike will nicely make its way through the other side. Todd Waters all over the back here of Hayden Melrose, so very interesting to see what's happened there. Hayden Melrose is just having a fantastic day. It's good to see all that hard work that he's been putting in starting to pay off.
Yeah, Melrose looks good on that gas. Of course, he was behind Waters moments ago, so whether he's made the pass or there was a mistake made, we're unsure. However, he still sits himself there in 4th place with the best ride that I've seen of him for this year. And each time he's been out on the track, there's been no doubt that he's improved every single time. So great to see that these guys are heading in the correct direction as we move towards the end of this championship and, of course, into Supercross later on this year. We hope to see them all out there again. Waters still sits there behind them, and Riker's still not that far behind as well. So he's in a chance for getting a top 5 in this race still.
Yeah, he's right there. He's only just over 1 second behind Todd Waters. So if Jaden Rikers can just up the ante just ever so slightly and finish strong, to be in this position right the way through with only 2 minutes plus a lap to go in a 25-minute plus a lap moto, he obviously hasn't hit the wall hard and faded. So he's doing exceptionally well. His bike looks like it's working good. So for him to finish off good would be a credit to him and to the Empire Kawasaki team. But I just wanted to make mention, Danny, before with that change around of 1st and 2nd place with Ferris making his way up to the lead, Tanti back to 2nd, it's given us a slight little change of what the overall podium's going to look like for the day, with Tanti now not in 2nd place. He'll slot himself back to 3rd, but still on the podium. Kurt Gibbs will end up in 2nd place on the day if things stay how they are. So what a return to racing after recent surgery for Kurt Gibbs.
Big effort for Gibbs just to even be on the bike, let alone getting the positions that he is for today's motos. So good effort indeed. As we see Todd Waters working that Husqvarna around these deep ruts as they move into some more lapped riders. There is Waters, of course, the 47 machine, standing up, looking very comfortable, working on some new lines to try and make his way back around Melrose into this right-hander. As we just hold for the number 6 machine, the Kawasaki of Jaden Riker's exceptional ride here today. And Lee, this, in theory, shouldn't be one of his stronger races. You know, he is so good in the sand, but however, a good rider can ride all conditions, and right now he's proving the more tricky the conditions, the better he rides. And right now, perfect example of it. I'm really impressed to see how this is going.
Well, he's another sand groper, like we were speaking about earlier on with Caden Minia. The riders from Western Australia, they love the sand. They don't traditionally enjoy this concrete, this hard-packed stuff where the ruts get that deep that you feel like you're leaving blue groove marks on the track. And have a look at those ruts up the takeoff ramp there. That's spectacular to see that. So you're exactly right. It is not the type of track that we expect to see Jaden Rikers perform exceptionally well on. So he's got to take some confidence with this into the last 2 rounds. As far as QMP, the penultimate round goes, I'm not too sure I've ridden there, but as a racetrack, I believe this is the first big racetrack, big race that they're going to have there. It is fairly hard packed with that final round at Coolum. I tell you what, Jaden Rikers will be looking forward to that one.
I expect big things out of him as we head back into the sand of Coolum. Rikers certainly knows his way around the sand course, so looking forward to seeing that happen as well. Does a lot of the top runners. Waters is very good in the sand. I'm sure Ferris knows how to get around a sand track as well. So it's going to be some epic races before this championship is complete, as we have only 8 seconds left on the clock to close out Moto number 2. Before we see the last lap board, our leaders should almost be over that finish line. So whether they get the last lap this time or if it's another, no, they've already cleared. So 2 more laps to go for our race here.
With the 4-second gap between Dean Ferris and Aaron Tanti, it really has been a 2-horse race, this particular one. Yes, Gibbs has had to come from a fair way back, but it's a good 15 seconds back to Gibbsy, and with his spectacular form in race 1, kind of would have thought he would have been up a little bit higher, but you know what? That's been a bit tough on him coming with that thumb injury. As he said at the end on the podium of Moto 1, I'm going to go back, I'm going to, I tried to keep a little bit of energy for Moto 2 and also look after that thumb a little bit.
Tanti makes his way through Michelin turn and then over this tabletop into a long sweeping left. We saw a few problems earlier on going through that turn, but he's managed to get through there nice and clean. It sits 4.2 seconds back behind our race leader, of course, that is Dean Ferris still. He's out of view, should be in view, coming back in the opposite direction. I actually didn't see him anywhere. There he is, just going through. Nice shot right there of our leader through the AMX Superstores corner. And he will receive the last lap board around this time.
I have to make comment, Danny, sorry, the handling of Dean Ferris's Honda looks amazing this weekend. Now, we've been a little bit critical in recent rounds that the rear end of that bike, and even Dean said himself, they had to change out a rear shock at one stage. It just wasn't handling the way that he expected, but that thing is handling like butter at the moment.
Coming around the final turn now, will receive the last lap board up and over. So the hard work has been done for our race leader. Moves past the mechanics area, gets his final pit board for the day, glaring into that sun.
That was a great shot coming in. You could really see how handy that extra goggle lens that's taped onto the end of his peak, how that was. He didn't have to duck his head down too far, did he?
Gabriel turned into the right-hander through Pirelli last time and into this big tabletop. And as you said, those ruts are so big. Trying to pick your line there.
Choice.
Yeah, picking the correct line. It's a bit of an unknown the first time you hit them with the shade, especially across it right now. If you haven't used that line before, it's a surprise packet when you hit it. So quick look over the shoulder, sees how far back he is over Tanti, and then on with the rest of this final lap. What a ride.
It's been an amazing ride, and so important to get back to your toes on the toes of your foot pegs as you go up those deep ruts so you don't get your feet dragged off the back. You're exactly right, Danny. What a spectacular ride it has been for the Honda HRC rider number 111, Dean Ferris. He came to play today, and he has almost led most laps here in both motos in spectacular form.
Great to hear the horns going here, the crowd really getting into this racing today, and so they should. There's been some great racing delivered to them all and to us on this TV broadcast. It makes our job really easy when we get some excitement like we have seen today, as we see the Honda rider, factory HRC, go through the 100% turn for the last time, moves his way towards the finish line. The 111 machine has done it from the start of the race. He has been challenged both times, but fought back and will come across, take Moto number 2 and the overall for the day. What a ride by Ferris, and after that, you've got to say, Ferris is back.
He is back, and he is making a charge for these points. He's coming into Dean Ferris land as we get to the last 2 rounds in Queensland. He'll be exceptionally comfortable, and he will be hoping to whittle away at that points lead that Aaron Tanti has. He's getting closer and closer. Kirk Gibbs coming up and over the finish line, and he will secure 2nd overall on the day. And what a fantastic return to racing after recent surgery just 3 weeks ago on a thumb. And we thought originally it was soft tissue damage, ended up being a broken bone. So great job for him, coming back in fine form. Riders making their way up and over the finish line.
What an exciting day of racing we have had here at round 6 at Coffs Harbour. We truly didn't believe we were going to see this kind of racing when we saw the track yesterday, the amount of rain that they've had leading into this one. The local workers told us, yeah, we'll be throwing water on the track. It was a hard thing for us to swallow. We certainly didn't think that'd be happening. They haven't thrown the water on the track, but it has developed to become an amazing track as we see Dean Ferris and the family congratulating him on the excellent ride. This is so good to see. That is fantastic. It's all about the family. Dean Ferris, family man, wife and kids there. You got the number 1s up. That is great to see. Well, we have to give credit where it's due. And Danny, I must say, in recent times, it's been all about the Yamahas, where today we have had a steamroll, winning all 4 motos, both motos MX2, both motos MX1. Let's take a quick look at the Thor results. MX1, Moto 2. Dean Ferris on top again. Aaron Tanti in 2nd place. Kirk Gibbs in 3rd. Hayden Melross, a great 4th place. And Todd Waters in the top 5. Jaden Rikers comes across in 6th. Brett Metcalf quite a long way back, so we're not sure what happened there. Zachary Watson with a really good performance there in 8th place. Jobin Baldwin in 9th. And then Ricky Latmar back there in 10th place.
Joel Evans just out of the top 10. Seager Ward, Joel Whiteman, Lockie Latimer, and Mitch Norris rounding out the top 15.
Watts, Orchard, Dunlop, Merchant, and Sigliano round out our 20.
And in P1, Dean Ferris on the HRC. A great weekend for you. Pretty much perfect. 2 whole shots and a double victory. You must be feeling pretty good.
Yeah, it's good after I had the last 2 rounds were really tough, so it's good to bounce back and go 1-1 and put a couple more moto wins into my belt. This thing's not over, you know. I gained a lot of points today, and I'm going to just keep chomping at the bit and just keep putting the pressure on. So it was a really good round. We've got 4 more motos to go, anything to happen. I'm just going to keep trying my hardest, keep trying to improve in every part of my program. But huge thanks to HRC Factory Racing. They've been behind me the whole time. They never stopped believing in me, and that's the main thing. I'm just really happy about it. And big shout out to my wife. She's my rock. She's there while I'm doing all the work every day, and without her I wouldn't be standing here. So thank you to everyone.
So we'll see you at QMP.
See you there.
Well, what a day for Dean Ferris. He has gone 1-1, and he has kept this thing interesting. Danny Ham is going to come right the way down to the wire. Aaron Tanti continues to hold down a nice little lead in the championship, but Ferris has chipped away. Let's take a look at the Thor Championship points. MX1 after round 5. Aaron Tanti with 254 points ahead of Dean Ferris with 225. Well, Coffs Harbour, you have certainly turned it on for us this weekend. We hope you've enjoyed the telecast. On behalf of Danny Ham, Kate Peck and myself, Lee Hogan, thank you so much for joining us. Be sure to tune in August 14th as we bring you the live action from QMP in Queensland for round 7 of the Penrite Oils ProMX Championships, brought to you by AMX Superstores. Goodbye for now.